Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, and a good sunny morning to you. It's good to be here. It's March 7, 2023. It's a Tuesday, and Susan's joining us from the frozen tundra. Hi, Suze.
Hi. Frozen is right. Yesterday it was raining, and then, of course, it froze overnight. So, Dog and I...
Happy skating.
Yeah, George, Dog and I gingerly worked our way down the street and back up, but...
Be careful.
No, he's getting my, if I could give dog trophies out, I'd give one to him, because he is just pointedly adjusting to the hazardous conditions and taking care of himself in the yard. So
yeah.
No, and I mean he wants me to make sure that I see him so that he knows that I know that he's performed his duties in the morning, and then we went off for just a little thing, and I said, "This is scary," and he happily turned around and we went home.
Yeah, it's scary. I'm telling you, don't do it.
Well, even with ice trackers on, I mean, ice is ice, as you know.
I had ice.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do, and
yeah.
So anyway,
oh well, enough. Yeah.
So I got, my husband used to say to me years ago, "Don't get plastic surgery. It's simply not worth the risk of dying." And I would go, "Oh, for heaven's sakes." He goes, "I'm not kidding." And, I as it went on, I happened to know more than one person, like personally, that died as a consequence of a nose job.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Judy Cahotis did. Marcia Cahotis did.
Marcia did. That's a kid we went to school with.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, had a reaction to anesthesia, and that was the end of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, so he wasn't thinking of that. And now I'm thinking about these poor people who crossed to Mexico to get cut-rate plastic surgery, and now they're kidnapped and probably dead and everything else.
Is that what they?
Yeah, they were going to Mexico for cut-rate plastic surgery. Oh, yeah, I had a through line here, Lynn.
You had a what?
A through line. There was a point to my bringing up plastic surgery.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, I hadn't seen that. I saw that they'd gone for medicine. I hadn't seen that they'd been identified. Pretty awful. Yeah. Well, I don't know. People make choices and there's consequences, and nobody, though, should have to. Good God. There's warnings, about going across there at Brownsville, Texas, right?
Right.
Because of the cartels. Unbelievable. Poor people. Well, okay, can we get something happier going here?
Probably not.
An earworm. I don't know. I have an earworm in my earworm, music.
Yes, I know, yes.
In my head. And it's a great song. I mean, it's so great that I actually Googled the lyrics, since I could only just mumble through part of them. And, man, they're good. It's an old Bob Dylan song. Chimes of freedom. And I saw it because last night the public station here was showing all this old Dylan video, when he was like, he looks like he's 10.
Right.
In 1963 stuff, 63 to 65. And I was really enjoying it. And then, of course, it was interrupted by this 20-minute give us
pledge drive. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. And then I thought, well, of course. I mean, they know who their audience is. Their audience would be a bunch of old folks who probably love Bob Dylan. I mean, they also know that there are old folks who love, I think tonight they're doing somebody else. It's just, they know. But I didn't, I already had given them some money, and so it annoyed me. But anyway, it's in my head. It's such a perfect song. I'm sorry. You know what? I can't remember who the teacher was, and I've told this story before, but it was someone at East High School in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And trying to tell the students that not to be afraid of poetry, that poetry was all around them, that poetry was in fact in the songs that they love, that some of, those songs are like, are poems. And the assignment was to bring in some lyrics that you really liked to show that, in fact, they're poetry. And I can't remember which Bob Dylan song I brought in, but I did. And all I remember is the teacher says, "That's not poetry." But I think the teacher thought that, "I want to hold your hand" was.
You're kidding.
So,
how could you?
No. I don't know. And I can't remember who it was. They said, but they took exception. And I think it might have been, like an anti-war, one.
Right. I mean, the teacher got political.
Politically.
Yeah.
Right. That's what happened. I was blown away by it, really blown away and pissed off, and furthered my growing contempt for authority. So, hey, I've got made little notes of 3 things that I just wanted to share. 3 of the more horrible humans currently on the face of this earth. And I've got little things that I want to, talk about, all of them. I'll be damned if I would ever watch Tucker Carlson. I cannot.
No.
I couldn't when he was, 20 years ago when he's not still wearing those bow ties, is he? 20 years ago when he was this preppy, nowhere near what he is today. He's morphed into something much more dangerous and horrific. I actually think he was on MSNBC, if I'm remembering correct. But I simply cannot watch. It's terrifying. So he has the security video from January 6th,
right,
that the Speaker of the House, the person third in line to the presidency of this country, handed over to him because Marjorie Taylor Greene made him.
Okay, let me just interrupt for 1 second, because that's how it's been routinely characterized. But I think in actuality, the evidence has never actually left the Capitol. He has been granted exclusive right to go in and see it. I don't think he physically has it in his control.
No, I don't know that he does either, but his people have total access.
They have total access to and no one else does. Yeah, but I had in my own head, the way because people were saying exactly what you were saying, that he had somehow been given, a stack of
the actual video. No,
right.
Access to
right.
is, access to it all, to the 44,000
right.
Hours.
Right.
And apparently he has begun educating his audience to the reality of January 6th by using this video, by cherry picking, obviously.
Of course, you know what he was going to do. That's the assignment.
I know. He actually, it just becomes almost impossible to believe that somebody, a so-called news operation, that's now obviously in some legal jeopardy because of their business model of lying through their teeth to their audience, that he actually showed pictures of it and said of the rioters, they were orderly and meek.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
They were sightseers. I mean, but it makes you wonder, though, about the people that want to be lied to like this.
Right, of course it does.
Right, and then the Dominion suit, the coming out of some of the discovery of the emails and texts back and forth, that in fact Tucker Carlson and all the rest of them knew the big lie was a big lie, and yet they knew that their bread and butter was to keep telling it.
Well, people enjoyed that lie so much.
It's right.
It's like a small child that wants the same fairy tale read to them every night. It's comforting. They know the end, and it ends just like they want it to. So tell me that story again, Daddy. That's I think quite literally the level these people operate on.
Well, but it must be, listen, it has to be some, obviously very human need. But the willingness of millions, they're not all idiots, the willingness to be lied to. And the fact that Fox saw that when they sort of started wobbling, calling initially with that, saying that Biden had won Arizona and being the first to say it, and their audience reacted with rage and went off to the other, even more crazed media outlets. And Tucker actually wrote to one of his cohorts that our stock price is down. We can't allow this. I mean, my God.
Right. Yeah.
So knowingly lying. And so that, but I am fascinated by and terrified by the psychology behind the fact that the Republicans keep making monsters. And that's what they've created. They created monsters, and Fox News thought they could lead the audience. And now they've found that the audience
is in control.
Is in charge.
Yeah.
That's right. Just
they
like
handed the keys to the mob, and now the mob will come after them. That's duh.
Well, but that's the case for the Republican Party as well, with the base. It's fascinating and terrifying. So just in case those of you who don't watch Fox News, I just wanted to tell you that there are tens of millions of your country folk who are being told that January 6th was orderly. How can you do that? And that they were meek. How can you? Beyond belief. The other thing is Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I already noted, she of the Jewish space lasers. She tweeted out yesterday, "Happy Purim" to my Jewish constituents. Today is a holiday, a Jewish holiday called Purim, Purim.
In which men dress up in long robes and silly wigs, and women pretend they're queens. Yeah. Banned in Tennessee.
It's raucous. Yeah, but yes, it does involve, the potential for what looks like drag. It's it's like a carnival. It's a yet another a lot of Jewish holidays are essentially the same with a different story. We celebrate not
Victory!
being annihilated. No, we celebrate not being annihilated.
Yeah, survival. Right.
Essentially, the stories always say they came to kill us. Here we are. Yeah. So that's the story of Hanukkah. That's the story of Purim and a lot of the holidays. So she that tweets out Happy Purim or something. And man, the pushback that she got on Twitter was amazing. Jews don't want her Happy Purim. One replied to her, "That's like Putin wishing Ukrainians Happy Independence Day."
I love people.
And here's another one. A guy named Ron Cohen wrote back to Marjorie and said, "Are we allowed to celebrate in your Christian nation?" Oh, God. Okay, so that's Tucker and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And finally, one that is almost too repulsive this year, but I will. And that's, the recent CPAC conference, that meeting of I don't know.
The guy who got total silence when he said that he didn't approve of Putin. That didn't go on well.
No, they love Putin.
They really officially love Putin. Yeah,
of course they love Putin. They love strong men. No, it's crazy. And do you know that when Trump himself was there, he didn't fill the room? How's that even possible?
No, been there, done that.
But in fact, there's enough of them that the rest, the wannabes, are afraid of taking him on. I don't get it. The Republicans have made a big, big, big mess. And I'm very happy to see it.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump Jr. took the stage at one point, and he is as vile as they come. And he said he went after John Fetterman.
Of course he did.
Yeah, here is absolute. This is a quote from, and which of course the audience ate up. Pennsylvania managed to elect a vegetable. I'd love for John Fetterman to have good, gainful employment. Maybe he could be like a bag guy at a grocery store. But is it unreasonable for me to expect, as a citizen of the United States, to have a U.S. senator have basic cognitive function?
It really makes me physically ill.
I know. This is the other side. And how anyone can aid and or bet and or give cover to Republicans is beyond me. It puts them with these awful humans. Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump Jr. And, with Fetterman, it turns out, and here's again, we don't necessarily know this because we don't watch. But they have been, Fox and Republicans, they are going after
the wife.
His wife,
yeah.
Giselle. Unbelievably. See, I tried to get it up and it won't come. I mean, you cannot believe what they say about her. And they have blamed her. This is always the case, always a woman's fault. They have blamed her for wanting the power of being a senator's wife, to forcing him, despite the fact that he was near death's door and a gibbering vegetable, to continue on with
oh, right,
with the campaign.
Her ambitions are his fault. Right. I mean, yeah, his ambitions are her fault. Right. I'm gobsmacked. Right.
And they do this. I mean, it's constant that the hatred of Giselle Fetterman is now a basic kind of a thing in right-wing talk. Hating on her. Unbelievable.
Well, you know, I mean,
I feel so sorry for these people.
Well,
the Fettermans. I mean, really. Yeah,
they're going through hell, and then because they're Republicans and this is what they do, they pick the person going through the most hell to torture more. I mean, that's their great pleasure. They are sadistic nasties, and misogyny is their favorite game.
Yeah. Speaking of that, and I didn't even know if I wanted to go to. Did you watch the Chris Rock Netflix thing? Oh.
I didn't watch it. I read probably most of it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I had seen him live in September here, and because he was on tour and he was working out the stuff, you know, that got onto the, you know, this Netflix special. So a lot of the show, a lot of it was stuff I had seen before that I didn't think was up to his usual standards. But I was struck by a few things. I mean, I laughed. I was struck by his rage because it was so clear that he really wanted to. I mean, this was vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I'm sorry, it was.
That's not funny.
It was a bit off-putting. And he also did what everybody does. He blamed her for her husband's action.
Right. Well, and that he's getting a lot of pushback from a lot of black women, particularly black women.
Yeah. Because I thought, oh, come on, you too. I mean, it's her. Now, he made, you know, it's a great point, the story he came up with, and for all, you know, that... and
it might indeed be accurate, right?
Yeah, it might be right, but that she had humiliated her husband, Will Smith, by actually interviewing her husband, right? I can't believe
about her affair with a younger man.
About her affair with their son's friend.
During which she discusses, I mean, and during a podcast in which she's discussed several times how she really never wanted to marry him, how her mother made her.
Oh, I didn't know all that.
Oh, so, I mean, you know, she's not the ideal spouse, you know.
Well, but no. But still. So Rock says it was displaced anger at her and feeling in this public setting he had to defend her because she had emasculated him. He had to be the man. And I think that's probably pretty smart.
Yeah. I think it's
yet I thought, oh no, so it's gonna be blame her, even if that's true. She didn't slap Chris Rock. But I think he did come up with an interesting potential example, how she had emasculated him.
Mm-hmm. I liked his finish line of the whole thing, that you don't fight in front of white people.
Fight in front of white people,
because that rings so true. I mean, that's how Jews feel when Jews embarrass themselves. Right. So I thought a lot of what he said was probably highly accurate. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily funny or.
Oh, you wouldn't have he really dumped on.
Yes, I know, and I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
because I think he's also right about that.
Yeah,
where she's seeing racism, he's seeing in-law problems. And I don't, as a woman that married into a very, very, very Catholic family, you do have to sift through what is anti-Semitism and what is in-law issues, and they do get intertwined.
Yeah,
so I thought that was. I mean, I thought that was probably again highly accurate.
Well, I think what he said that was really accurate was her saying that someone in the family, who's yet still not identified, wondering how dark
and he said
the baby might be, and he said, "What? We all do that.
Black people wonder what color the black
people
kids
do it. Yeah,
their kids' skin is going to look like. Yeah,
yeah. I wonder if what colors.
Well, no. I mean, believe me, I comments in our own family. Look at her beautiful white skin. I mean, really, everybody does it. And for some reason, palest wins unless you're outside and it's summer, and then pale loses.
Oh, I don't know. I think brown wins always.
Well, I think, as in terms of what is best looking, absolutely.
To me, brown is best, but brown or black. I think white skin is generally
unattractive.
It's not attractive. When you see very white skinned people, in shorts, and sometimes I just marvel at how white they are, and
it's blinding. Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't like it. Personally, I don't think it's beautiful myself, but it doesn't matter. That's just an opinion. Whatever. Anyway,
I'm just saying he's right about that. That there ain't anybody that doesn't notice skin color and have a rating scale.
Mm-hmm.
I do think he's accurate about that. Just because I hear comments in my head, just memory-wise, echoing.
Yeah, but there's also truth to the fact that in the British family, when they say, "I wonder what color the kid will be," that it is concerned that the kid will look
brown,
black.
That's correct. So
right. That's what the question meant.
So Rock is taking a slant and running with it. It doesn't mean it's completely accurate or even partially accurate.
So I don't know. I think it was I don't know. My son, who always liked him, he hated it. He said, I maybe laughed once. I mean, he really thought it was bad. He said he's past his prime. Whoa. I don't know. I mean, he says it's just old and tired. The woke jokes, the this, that. He says it's just, come on. I mean, we're still laughing at that shit. I mean, I think it's funny because that's one of my, bugaboos, a lot of the woke stuff. I don't know. So, just saying. Speaking of television, I am going to watch because I need a laugh. And while I'm sure it's, sometimes very funny and sometimes not, I gotta see this.
It's the History of the World Part 2.
Exactly. Mel Brooks.
Well, it can't possibly be as good. And one little clip the one little clip that I saw, though, I was underwhelmed by.
Well, I haven't seen any clips. But since it never stays long with, I mean, if you're doing a history of the world, if you're not liking what he's doing with,
you just wait a second, right?
Wait a second, and something better might come down the pike. But the New York Times review today makes me wanna watch. I mean, they say, you know, when it hits, I mean, it's just wondrous.
Well, and, you know, Mel Brooks movies were like that. You weren't laughing at every bit. It's just that when you did laugh, you couldn't stop. Other things were just silly and would fall flat. But, you know, Springtime for Hitler would just, you know, that would never, ever, ever be anything except brilliant.
Oh, but it was, as you know, exceedingly controversial.
Well, of course it was.
And if anyone but a Jew had done it, it would have been offensive, I think.
Oh, of course. It was offensive then by a Jew. That was the point.
I know. Springtime for
Hitler in
Germany. It's our mother's favorite movie. Yeah. It's brilliant, the producers. I mean, Blazing Saddles. He's Blazing Saddles. He's just ingenious. The guy's 96 years old, and he's still putting stuff out. Now, he's not on screen a lot in this, but I guess Wanda Sykes is a major performer, and one of the things they like best is that they say just nails it is her doing like a sitcom-y kind of sketch, but playing Shirley Chisholm.
Chisholm, yeah. That was her idea.
Yeah, and they say it's just brilliant. Or they have, you know, Johnny Knoxville from, not that you watch this stuff, Jackass. I only know about this stuff.
You have a son. Yeah.
Son. So the Jackass stuff where he puts himself through, I mean, he does stuff that
you'd have to be a jackass to try, right?
To do, because it's dangerous, he'll kill you, whatever. Anyway, but he pops up in it playing Rasputin, which is just perfect because you can't kill Rasputin. And showing the different, so it starts tonight. It's on Hulu for those of you who want to take a whack at it. It's 8 parts. 2 episodes a day will be released. So if you need a laugh, I mean, odds are it'll. And he goes back to the Hitler thing. There's a Hitler on ice.
Right. That's the one that I saw, and then the clip that I saw.
I think it was funny.
Well, it's just that I thought, well, I mean, you know, he's done that, you know. It was
right.
was just like a reference to the first one and not as good.
Yeah. And what the Times points out is that while the Hitler, you know, is ice skating, the commentators are saying that they don't think he's any good, and that this is a way. See, this is what he has to do now. It's more cautious because there's too many people who need the fact that he's being comic. This is, I know this is outrageous, but that it has to be underlined and defined for the audience of today that would react with horror.
Right. Well,
which is a sad commentary.
Right. It wasn't, and the bit fails.
Well, they say a lot of the bits don't. He says that they go on to say there's limp gags of imagining various historical figures on social media. Now that sounds like a great idea, right? So Typhoid Mary on social, you know, on Twitter,
right.
Galileo or whatever. So anyway, just saying that might be respite for some folks. And I forgot to remind my audience that my Gmail account is not working. Don't ask me why. So if you're sending me stuff right now to Lynn Cullen Show at Gmail, it's going into I don't know where, but it ain't coming to me.
Have you signed out and signed back in?
Oh, I've signed out and signed back in 100 times, and it keeps coming up temporarily unavailable. Temporary has now been 2 days and unavailable, and I don't have a clue. So I'm telling people, if you want to take part, the email address now, until I get the Gmail working, is Cullen Show, CULLENSHOW, at yahoo.com. So that's what I'm looking at.
Okay, I'm going to suggest one other thing, Lynn, and it might be: have you been getting emails prior to this that your Google was out? Your Google account was out of storage?
No. Out of storage?
Yeah. Then they try and sell you more storage, but they might hold you up. Okay.
No. I don't have a clue. So, I just want to express my continuing rage at what Elon Musk did to Twitter.
It's brittle now. It's brittle, Lynn.
That's what he says. It's brittle. He's destroyed it. It doesn't work.
I was just thinking, what is it? How long before some employee just goes in and deliberately tweaks the code here and there and then holds them up for $1 billion or says, fix it, hire everybody back, or I take the whole thing away from you?
Well, I mean, no, because they look. I mean, he's fired everybody. There's not enough people there to keep it up and running. It keeps and so many. The reason I enjoyed it is it was really, in many ways, my major news source. It is when news broke, Twitter was wonderful. I mean, I'd have immediately, like, some of the better people who I think have fine minds, sharing information and stories. And that's where I got a lot of the stuff that, I felt made me somewhat tuned in to what was happening out there in the world. It's gone. It's just flat out gone. And that this spoiled, disgusting, obnoxious, awful human being, because I'm just one. There are a whole bunch of people who used that source, is gone. He never really wanted it anyway, did he? And he's opened it up to. No, it's
right. He wanted to shut the libs up and magnify the voices of the extreme right, and that's what he did.
Done. And the thing is, he has gotten rid of more than 2/3 of the staff. And guess what? It doesn't work anymore. And the 1/3 that are still there, God help them, working for that maniac and trying to handle the job that is now impossible. So,
yeah, there you have it.
A former engineer told the Washington Post every mistake and in code or operations is now deadly. The workforce is overwhelmed, overworked, more likely to make mistakes. The former engineer spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of retribution, because Musk, like Trump, like all of these awful people, is very thin-skinned, right?
Right.
I mean, to see him, he will take on anybody on Twitter still. That's what he does. How does this guy, he spends half his time having fights on Twitter with people, insulting them. He's the worst.
Yep.
I hate him, I hate him, I hate him, I hate him, I hate him.
Well, he controls way too much of the world, by virtue of his satellites and everything else. And we've allowed men like this to have way too much power over all of our lives. And that's also, by the way, the Republicans.
Well, they have all the money, too. There's just a few people who have most of the money, and then they own, important, you could say, like the satellite stuff. That used to be governments, nations. And now it's rich people who are going to explore space. Rich people who have these satellite operations that a nation like Ukraine needs for its very survival. It's insanity that we've allowed this to happen.
Well, hell, we gave China the exclusive right to make all of our antibiotics. Couldn't see any issues in the future that might turn out poorly for.
This is what happens when capitalism goes rogue, is unfettered. It's what the Republicans want. They got it. Nice world.
Well, and along that train of thought, the gall of that train company to have two crashes in Ohio
I have a feeling that these derailments happen at an extraordinary rate. It's just now I'm sure they've had weeks where there have been derailments
daily
in a state. Yeah, right. And we just weren't paying attention. Now we're paying attention. It's like remember the missing kids on milk cartons?
Right.
Media gets fixated on like one idea at a time, and right now it's train derailments. But yeah, we allow the industry to pretty much regulate itself, which of course is absurd because it doesn't.
Well, Yeah, that was the whole idea. All of these things that people have been taught to hate, like tort law and tort attorneys, which is tort being the legal term for a civil wrong, somebody doing something wrong to you, like the corporations willfully poisoning you and making a math problem out of how many Americans they get to kill before they recall something because it's cheaper to pay off individual settlements than to trash a whole bunch of product and start all over and take that hit. So we've known for years that corporations actually, that, the world is a math problem and our lives are part of the algorithm.
Yeah.
So Ohio just happens to have been told that nobody in Ohio, if you think your life matters to anybody, I heard a guy saying, being interviewed, well, I'm sure that they have regulations. They just aren't they aren't enforcing them. And I'm thinking, buddy, they got rid of the regulations.
2 of the 4 Americans who were kidnapped in Mexico were found dead today, while the other 2 were found alive and are in a safe location, although one is injured. That's what happened. One was killed at the time of the attack when they shot at their car. I'm not sure about the other one. Yeah. They were from North Carolina. Oh, no. It says an innocent Mexican citizen was killed.
Yeah.
Also. But, yeah, they've found them, too.
Oh, that's too bad.
And they still don't say that they were going for cosmetic surgery, but you saw that somewhere.
I did see that somewhere. It was, I think, a sister-in-law of one of the people that was kidnapped.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and I think literally they aren't reporting it because they don't want it to devolve into blaming them for doing it.
Well, yeah, it's sad, to die for who knows what, for nothing. But also they're warning. I mean, you think they were aware? Who cares? I mean, I don't know. Who knows if they were aware that was a dangerous route? Are they told that when you cross the border?
I think people are well, I think people I assume to have known. I know that they've put out things that you aren't supposed to cross there.
Yeah, but so who?
They aren't. But they aren't from there. They aren't paying attention. They looked up on Google Maps how to, to what's the directions to wherever they were going.
Your car drives right over the border. We don't have people that say, this is not considered. They weren't informed. Wouldn't they have to have stopped at the border?
I guess.
Yeah, and wouldn't they have been? I don't understand. Well, it's whatever. This is good because it was my reaction too. California, the governor, Newsom, says that the state will not do any business with Walgreens. And that's great. Or as he said, California won't be doing business with Walgreens or any other company that cowers to the extremists and puts women's lives at risk. And that is because Walgreens put out a corporate announcement, I think last week, that said that it would not be allowing its drugstores to dispense a perfectly legal drug, which is the abortion pill.
In certain states.
Well, in states where it was still no, because they were afraid it might be no. Where the states, even in states that it was still legal.
Yeah, a few of them, the states were still legal, right?
But they weren't. It is not selling the drug in 20 states, and that's simply because Republicans threatened them.
Yep.
The states are Alaska, Iowa, Kansas, Montana, where that medication is
legal.
Still legal.
Well, and there's those
Walgreens to get ahead of the GOP on this is extraordinary. Corporate queasiness. And we'll see if the others follow. Unbelievable. Republicans have become thugs. I mean, just in every way.
No, they're just thugs.
Intimidate.
Yeah.
They intimidate.
They're bullying thugs.
They
I agree
scare
with you.
people.
So there's 5 women in Texas along these lines who are suing Texas, thank goodness, for trying to kill them. And I think, the Texas legislator that they interviewed was totally up in arms that these women thought that they were under that law not allowed to have the proper medical treatment. And the fact that those 5 women were denied the treatment he said, well, those doctors were wrong. And I have high hopes for this case.
I don't know. High hopes. You know how when somebody tells you what they do for a living and you don't understand?
Occasionally, yes.
Well, I more than occasionally. So what do you do? Oh, I'm a blah, 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 blah. You don't even know what the hell they're talking about. And then if you ask, well, what do you do? And they try to explain. And a lot of times the person can't explain it really, because they know that trying to explain it is just going to lead me, the listener, further into the weeds. So here's a new one. I did not know this was a job. An intimacy coordinator.
Oh, yeah. Intimacy coordinator.
Yeah.
How to make a scene look terribly sexy and at the same time make the actors feel comfortable and not have any part that's icky touching any other part that's icky. That's the intimacy coordinator coach.
Yeah, that there are people who help actors do sex scenes. And in fact, it says in just 5 years, intimacy coordinators have become a vital part of the entertainment industry.
Well,
HBO
you know why?
Requires them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
To keep women safe. That's why. And
That's
occasionally a man.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but who knew?
Who knew that women were being essentially raped on screen for our pleasure without their consent and knowledge?
Well,
what
do you mean who knew? I mean, that's like not surprising. Well, I don't think... The most notorious...
was Last Tango in Paris, yes.
Brando.
Yes.
And that poor young...
woman.
Actress.
Yes.
I think she was a girl.
Yes.
How old was she?
I don't know, young, but and most recently Olivia Hussey and her male co-star suing for the nude scenes they were literally lied to and forced to do.
Well, didn't they have an intimacy coordinator?
Not 60 years ago. 50 years ago.
So you're saying, them. So how old is...
Romeo and Juliet. They were 13 and 14.
And they're suing because what?
Because their images were used without their permission, and they were lied to get them. As Zeffirelli promised them that it wouldn't be used, but it was that nothing would be seen, and it just had to be filmed that way. I mean, they did the whole thing. And they bought it at the time, but they're saying now we were children and we should, it was child exploitation, and that
they're just looking for some money. It did. They both went on to have perfectly okay. I mean, come on. I'm not in. What? I don't remember there being explicit sex scenes in Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet.
There was nudity. It was artistic. You don't remember it.
No, it wasn't bump and grind, I'll tell you that. Okay, so whatever. I think it's looking for money.
Well, now you know why you have an intimacy coach, because that's your first defense in a suit. Yeah. So, and whatever. Isn't that something? I just, I mistrust people's motivation a lot. And I can't be alone in that regard. No.
Don't you think?
I do think.
I mean, they've seen that, there's...
I do think also that people, as they grow older, review things that have happened in their lives and suddenly view them in a totally different way than they did at the time. What they thought was okay at the time was, as an adult, and they look back on what happened to them, they do not think is okay.
Well, so I should start. You know how many rape cases I could bring?
Oh yeah, me too. That's what I've talked about. I mean, I've talked about that. I don't think that most people understand that your average, ordinary, woman who lived an average, ordinary life has probably been sexually assaulted 4 or 5 times.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. That's Lynn saying, boy, is that an underestimation.
Yeah, geez.
I mean, I can think of 5 or 6 times before I was 20.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, and whatever.
Which included at times literally fighting and running. That was at oh God, what was?
Well, listen, it was just
where the
given.
cottages were. Yeah, okay.
It was just a given, and it was a given. I mean, I've been sexually assaulted by college professors when I was a student. I've been sexually assaulted.
I was stalked by one and had a relationship with one.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, that guy taught me more stuff about more stuff. But looked in as an adult thing, there was a reason that our father disapproved so mightily.
No, he just didn't like the guy. They didn't. I mean,
what did they know? He didn't disapprove, right? He was weird.
No, he didn't disapprove, and they didn't disapprove of me with,
a guy that was 50 years older. Yeah.
Yeah, and who later went to jail.
Yeah, yours was worse than mine.
He went to jail because finally, years and years and years later,
he was identified as a predator.
4 or 5 of his students sued him. And it was a big case because it was before what he'd done was really considered a crime. It was in the 70s. It wasn't a crime. But they were all abused. And I forget what happened. They ended up just in civil court, and he had to pay him. Oh, no, I don't think.
No, he ended up in, didn't he do jail time?
He did, but I wonder what that was for. Anyway, this is an actor who was, you've probably seen him. His brother's an actor, Susan. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah.
He's all over the place, the brother, because he was never blacklisted. My guy had been blacklisted during the McCarthy era for being a commie. But who was that? Susan, I've told you this when I was driving out to Chicago once. I listened to Cicely Tyson's autobiography.
Yeah.
And he went after her.
Well, he had good taste.
When she said his name, I said, oh my God. Oh, my God. And she fought him off and then refused to allow him to intimidate her and stayed in his class. Because this is when she was starting to become an actress, because he had been the one who had coached all the people that she
admired.
Admired. Poitier and Belafonte and Ossie Davis. Yeah. But boy, I almost drove off the road. It was in Indiana. Because I thought, I know this story.
Mm-hmm.
I know this story. And for those of you, I mean, I've never really told the story, but this man had a huge impact on my life. And I ended up, the reason I am who I am and what I do wouldn't have happened without him.
Right. And that's the same thing with my predator professor. I mean, I learned more from that man in 2 years, in spite of the fact that if I look back at it, this is a sexual predator who preyed on young women. And there were hundreds of us, so it's very interesting how how as an adult you look back and you go, no, that was not proper. But even living through it, or as myself as a grown up, I don't regret it at all. I just don't. But for that, I would be a much less knowledgeable, well-rounded, adventurous person.
Well, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know. What?
I wouldn't know how to wire and plumb. I wouldn't know how to wire a house and plumb a house.
Well, I didn't learn anything.
The way I cook and cook the way I cook. Those are the things that he taught me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think this guy just understood that I was capable
talented.
Of being a performer, right? And yeah, Jesus Christ, what happens to kids? Anyway, yeah, whatever. I'm suing everybody in my fucking life. I'm even suing our parents. Susan, I'm suing for them buying me that bike that almost killed me. Isn't that parental malfeasance? Actually, there have been cases like that where right now kids will sue their parents for endangerment because of, buying them something that they shouldn't have yet.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well,
anyway.
Listen, or the parents get sued by someone else for the actions of the kid.
Yeah.
That's more common.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know where this went, but
no, we're done.
I don't know where it went.
Stick a fork in us. Talk about nothing.
Yeah, stick a fork in it. Anyway, okay, Suze, have a good one. Stay off the ice.
I'm done. I just love my animal. He is one with me. I love him. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Dog walking, a dangerous pastime. All right, guys, that's it. I didn't sleep last night, so I am in a bitchy mood, if you can tell, and I'm sorry for that. But be back tomorrow, probably without my Gmail, but what the hell? See ya.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.